You ever wonder why people are getting the hell out of the UK? Because they know something you don't. They're not leaving for weather. They're not leaving for fun. They're escaping a system that's quietly bleeding out, and nobody in power is admitting it. Over 300,000 people left the UK last year, and that's just the number they count. The reality? It's higher. And the profile of who's leaving? It's not the lazy. It's not the broke. It's the skilled, the mobile, the sharp. The same people that built the UK economy are walking out of it. Because the UK isn't just in a slump, it's in decline. GDP is crawling, wages are frozen, inflation's out of control, and the Bank of England is doing the same thing every desperate central bank does when it's losing control of the narrative. Raise interest rates and pray no one notices the rest of the house burning down. 14 hikes in a row. You know what that does to a population already struggling with groceries and rent? It breaks them. It's not just economics anymore, it's psychology. Confidence in the pound is shaken. Confidence in housing? Gone. Confidence in leadership? Please. Even people who wanted to believe in the UK are cashing out and relocating because belief doesn't pay bills. This isn't speculation, it's behavior. When people start pulling their kids from school, selling their homes, moving their money offshore, that's not random. That's what insiders do before a collapse. And that's happening now. Don't believe me? Ask the tax lawyers in Dubai. Ask the estate agents in Portugal. Ask the private bankers in Switzerland. They're not seeing a few families. They're seeing a wave. Because when smart money smells smoke, it doesn't ask questions, it just exits. And right now, the UK smells like a fire that's been burning for years. And the only people still sitting in the house are the ones who can't afford to leave, or the ones still in denial. They call it a cost of living crisis. Cute. As if this was some random little dip in the graph that'll bounce back next quarter. As if people waking up in cold homes, rationing eggs, skipping meals, and sweating rent hikes are just part of the cycle. Let's be clear. This isn't a crisis. It's a full-blown unraveling. The UK economy is operating on duct tape and denial. Rent in major cities has spiked over 20% year over year. Council tax increases, utility surcharges, transportation hikes, everywhere you turn, you're getting squeezed. But your paycheck? Same limp number it's been for years. That's not coincidence. That's design. Inflation's not some accidental side effect. It's a tax, a silent one, engineered by the very institutions that claim to be managing the economy. The Bank of England, the Treasury, the private sector vultures feeding on austerity. When inflation spikes, the value of your money erodes. So what do? They raise rates to cool the market. Translation, they make borrowing more expensive. And the side effect of that? Mortgages become unaffordable, business lending freezes, and the average person drowns while the rich scoop up assets at discount. This isn't a cycle, it's a transfer. From the bottom to the top. They'll tell you it's macro forces. They'll tell you it's the war in Ukraine. They'll blame Brexit or labor shortages or supply chains. And while you're busy arguing over headlines, they're adjusting tax codes, printing money, and buying up assets before the next wave hits. Meanwhile, the working class is too busy surviving to notice they're being harvested. And it's not just the poor. The middle class is melting. Salaries aren't tracking with reality, pensions are underfunded, and side hustles aren't bridging the gap anymore. You know what happens when the middle class collapses? That's not recession, that's regime change. That's the moment people either revolt or quietly leave. And in the UK, they're choosing door number 2. You want to know how you can tell a system is falling? Look at the exits. Not the headlines, not the ministers, the exits. Because the rich, they always leave first. The UK's highest earners, the same people who built hedge funds, owned real estate portfolios, ran mid-cap companies, have been moving money out of Britain for years. And now, they're moving themselves. You think I'm exaggerating? Ask the private banks in Switzerland and Luxembourg. They've seen a 40% spike in new British clients over the past 2 years. Ask the Dubai tax attorneys. They've quietly opened thousands of expat shell corps for UK passport holders since 2021. Ask Portugal. They had to shut down their golden visa program after British millionaires rushed in to escape UK capital gains tax hikes. This isn't a rumor, it's data. According to HMRC, over 3,000 high-income earners making £150,000 or more left the UK in just one tax year. That's your surgeons, your bankers, your private business owners, all gone. And what's left behind? A tax base built on the backs of people who are just trying to survive. The rich didn't just wake up and panic, they saw the pattern. 45% income tax at the top bracket, national insurance increases, dividend tax hikes. A government that considers wealth a problem instead of a resource, so they bounced. And let me hit you with this. In 2022, the UK officially lost its status as Europe's top financial hub to Paris. You think that happened by mistake? No, that's capital flight. Companies are shifting headquarters. Bankers are relocating to Frankfurt. Even tech entrepreneurs are choosing Dubai over London. Not because they hate the UK, but because the UK's economic model is designed to punish success and subsidize decay. You don't build wealth in a system that taxes capital harder than labor. And the elite know that. That's why they moved. That's why their homes in Mayfair are empty. That's why offshore trusts are booming while NHS hospitals are closing. They already left the table. Now they're buying the restaurant. And if you're still waiting for a recovery, let me be the one to break it to you. They don't invest in broken systems, they liquidate them. The rich got out while they could. You still think staying loyal to the pound makes you patriotic? They think it makes you poor. Watch the trends, not the headlines. The story isn't about adults staying, it's about the generation quitting. The Office for National Statistics says net migration in 2024 dropped to around 431,000, half of 2023's peak. But that's misleading. That decline is driven by falling student and work immigration, not British exodus. The group that matters, British nationals. Before 2024, more were leaving than arriving. And who's leaving? Mainly the young, skilled under-35s who see zero return for their effort. They're done with breeding debt for crumbling infrastructure. They've watched housing costs skyrocket, wages stagnate, and universities shovel them into financial chains. These aren't dreamers. They're done being slaves to a broken promise. ONS data shows that while immigration from abroad dropped, emigration climbed, particularly among non-UK nationals, and crucially, among skilled workers and recent grads. Over 40% of immigrants are under 35. They're fleeing not opportunity, but oppression. No upward mobility, no affordable shelter, and no financial dignity. University debt with no real job at the end? That's not education, it's indentured labor. They're smart enough to see the writing on the wall, so they're placing bets elsewhere. Canada, Australia, Dubai, anywhere with a future. They're not leaving because they hate the UK. They're leaving because the UK doesn't love them back. They're the walking portraits of disinvestment by a country that taxed them before they made tenor one. And once they leave, there's no calling them back. Let's cut the crap. You were never meant to win in this economy. Not under these rules, not in this system, not in this version of Britain. While they told you to tighten your belt, they were printing money like confetti. Between 2020 and 2022, the UK pumped out £450 billion in quantitative easing. That's not stimulus, that's financial fentanyl. They said it was to help you. But what really happened? The Bank of England bought government debt, flooding the system with cheap money. That cash went straight to the top. Asset holders, bankers, real estate moguls. You got crumbs. You got inflation. Inflation that they created and you paid for. While Rishi Sunak told you to be responsible, he wrote off billions in fraudulent COVID loans, let energy companies collapse, and helped preside over the worst real wage decline in modern UK history. Real wages adjusted for inflation, down 5.9% since 2021. That's not a dip, that's financial quicksand. And the media? Silent. Bought. Paid for. Every major network leans on government advertising and banking sponsors. They won't bite the hand that feeds them, but they will help that hand rob you blind. Meanwhile, Parliament passed stealth tax freezes. Thresholds staying flat while inflation climbs, dragging millions into higher tax brackets without a single vote. That's not democracy. That's a financial shakedown. They call it fiscal discipline. You call it what it is, it was a trap. And every time they say, we're in this together, remember this. You bailed them out, you took the hit, you footed the bill, and they cashed the bonus. You keep hearing it on the news. The collapse is coming. The markets might crash. Prepare for uncertainty. No, that's bait. The collapse isn't some future event. You're already living it. The UK economy shrank in 2023, but they sugarcoated it, called it a technical recession. No mate. When 6 million people can't afford to heat their homes, that's not technical. That's catastrophic. Grocery bills? Up over 25% since 2021. That's not inflation. That's economic suffocation. Rent? Unlivable. Median rent in London now breaks £2,500, and that's not luxury, that's a shoebox with a toilet. And here's the kicker. They knew this was coming. In 2019, the IMF warned the UK was over-leveraged, underproductive, and heading for a demographic cliff. But instead of preparing for impact, they gave you empty slogans like Build Back Better and Leveling Up. It was all theater. While small businesses folded, private equity raided the remains. While the NHS collapsed under pressure, billionaires bought luxury bunkers. While the pound lost value, the elite hoarded hard assets. And now, they want to blame you for not budgeting, for not working harder, for not being resilient. Let me teach you something. You can't resilience your way out of a rigged game. You don't beat a system like this by grinding harder. You beat it by understanding how it moves. This collapse? It's not a bug. It's the blueprint. They drain the middle, flood the top, and tell the bottom to just be patient. Don't be patient. Be dangerous. Be informed. Be ruthless. And this is the lesson. The collapse isn't coming. It already happened. You just didn't get the memo.